History is full of leaders who orchestrated the destruction of millions of their own people. Yet many of these figures weren't just tolerated, they were worshipped by the very public they oppressed. We see this phenomenon repeat across the 20th century, with figures like Mao Zedong, Adolf Hitler, and Joseph Stalin. Standard history often credits this stability to raw military power, but maintaining constant police surveillance and brute force is economically draining and inherently fragile. Lasting authoritarian power requires the public to comply willingly. To get that, leaders use a specific 5-step playbook to engineer a version of the truth that logical thinking cannot penetrate. Rule 1 is the creation of a narrative. This starts by triggering peak public emotions, usually fear or anger, to bypass critical analysis and point the population toward a specific manufactured villain. Following the 9/11 attacks, the U.S. political landscape provided a high-stakes environment for this strategy. The public was in shock, feeling helpless and demanding a target for their grief. To justify an invasion of Iraq, the administration presented evidence that Saddam Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction. This entire claim rested on a single intelligence report, which was actually a distorted summary of a 10-year-old student's PhD thesis. Saddam sat on the world's 5th largest oil reserve, and his growing military power threatened U.S. influence in the region. By framing the invasion as a moral necessity to stop a fabricated threat, the administration secured the public support needed to seize control of the Middle East's black gold. Once the narrative is established, Rule 2 takes effect. The leader must suffocate any dissenting questions before they can reach the public. During India's 1975 emergency, Indira Gandhi demonstrated total physical censorship. She cut power to newsrooms, issued strict reporting guidelines, and arrested thousands of opposition leaders without trial. Modern censorship has moved away from simple blackouts toward invisible suppression. Governments now use strategic lawsuits to bankrupt journalists, pull state advertising revenue from critical outlets, and deploy organized social media harassment to make the cost of speaking the truth too high to pay. Systematic suppression creates a total information vacuum. In that silence, the public stops looking for facts and begins to accept the leader's engineered reality as the only possible truth. Rule 3 fills that information vacuum with misinformation. To make a lie stick, it is disguised as an unquestionable authority that the public is already conditioned to trust. Adolf Hitler understood that political rhetoric had limits. He needed the prestige of science to validate his goals, so he hijacked the most respected intellectual concepts of his time. He took Charles Darwin's biological theory of survival and twisted it into social Darwinism. This pseudoscience gave his regime a mathematical justification for racial superiority, making genocide look like a biological necessity. When a lie adopts the aesthetics of science or the emotional weight of religious myth, it bypasses scrutiny. Through constant repetition in every school and on every radio, the manufactured story eventually hardens into perceived fact. Rule 4 elevates the leader from a politician to a supreme symbol of the nation. They cease being a person and become a deity. In 1924, Joseph Stalin faced a crisis of legitimacy. Vladimir Lenin, the face of the revolution, had left a final letter calling Stalin too rude and demanding his removal. Stalin's solution was to rewrite the past. He used early photo manipulation to airbrush himself into pictures with Lenin, creating a false visual record of closeness. He then rewrote history books to place himself at the center of every major revolutionary achievement. Once the leader's identity is merged with the nation, the trap is complete. At this stage, any disagreement with the individual leader is successfully branded as an act of treason against the country. The final rule ensures the system survives the next generation. This requires a total control of the education system to stop people from learning how to think. This strategy traces back to the 19th century Prussian military. They realized that soldiers who possessed critical thinking skills often questioned orders during the chaos of battle, leading to hesitation and defeat. To solve this, they pioneered the mass education model used globally today. It was designed to manufacture uniform citizens who prioritized obedience, punctuality, and loyalty over independent logic or creativity. By controlling the developmental years of the youth, a regime guarantees a future population that lacks the cognitive tools to identify the manipulation of the first 4 rules. The end result is a society moving in perfect, eerie synchronization. Every person feels they are making their own choices, yet their emotional responses and loyalties were designed years in advance. This 5-step playbook is currently active within modern information ecosystems. It shapes how we view crises and choose our leaders. Identifying these tactics is the first step to resisting them. Look for the fear-driven narratives, the invisible censorship of dissenting experts, and the leaders who attempt to become untouchable national symbols. The ability to recognize these 5 patterns as they are deployed is the only effective safeguard against a manufactured reality. Understanding how the lie is built makes it impossible for the lie to hold.